Welcome to Triple M NRL Daily on a Monday, which means the Graham Trust is here. But based on what we've been talking about before we've got on, the Graham Trust could be breaking up.
It's fractured.
What's happened?
It's fractured.
It is fractured.
Tell me, Jimmy, what have you taken?
Well, look, I thought we were all on the same page. We support each other, especially when, we're not around each other. I think that's the mark. We're not just about this show. We do our Thursdays together, but that's understandable that we do our separate ways as well, and we trust each other when we're working outside these lines. Saturday scrum, obviously the news of Anthony Seibold, and my theory, tinfoil hat theory came up. And Wade Graham has accused me of making up these comments looking for clicks, clickbait. I thought I was on a run. I was going to call up the show, but I thought, no, that's going to make a bigger scene. So I thought I'll save it until I see him. Here we are.
That is
not clickbaiting,
man. That's like trying so much farming there for views. Like, honestly, you think Willie Peters? Come on, brother.
Man, that was an instant reaction.
Yeah.
The news broke at about 6:30. I'm like, hang on a minute. Something doesn't add up. Look, it looks as though it's a false tinfoil hat theory. But, I mean, I thought it was something worth discussing. I was just putting it out there to the world.
Okay, I like it.
For them to click on and see what I had to say.
And I don't know, it is the Graham Family Trust, but I know you have daughters. I have 2 sons, and they are a family. But guess what? They fight all the time, Jimmy. And there's always
coming back
fractures.
together. Okay,
there's always fractures.
Well, we'll bring it back together.
Yes.
Well, if you want to watch any of the shows, you can go on YouTube and just search Triple M NRL. You would have seen Wade Graham bagging you on YouTube because they put the Saturday scrum up there as well. And we're going to ask you for your hot takes. So basically, every show now we're going to start with your comment on the YouTube channel, or you can comment on Spotify as well. But the first hot take we've got is from Lockie K.
I thought you were talking about our hot takes. It was like, I thought we bring hot takes every week.
You do, mate.
That's
No,
kind
you
of
do.
our job.
Yeah, I meant more our audience.
Yes,
you know?
well, yeah.
Yeah, I probably didn't word it very well, but thanks for picking that up, mate. Thanks for picking that up.
I just wanted to clarify
No,
my hot takes. We don't need my hot takes or Wade's hot takes.
Well, we'll get your hot takes throughout the show. But Lockie K, the great Lockie K, says the 6 again should be updated to stop the loophole with the first tackle 6 agains. A 6 again should start at the end of the current set. So if a 6 again happens on tackle 1, and the attacking team should then get tackle 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then the 6 again.
Lockie K, wow.
A team giving away a 6 again on tackle 5 doesn't change much because they just defended a full set anyway. Stops what Penrith and Melbourne are doing, happily giving away 6 agains on tackle 1.
Yeah, so instead of restarting the tackle count, you just let it run and you add it together. So it's 12 tackles. If you give away a 6 again, no matter what, you finish off that set of 6 on play 5, not 5th and last. No, you got another set. There's a little bit of merit to that. It'd be hard for the referees to keep count of the tackles. Like, they're flat out counting the 5. How are they going to count the 12?
There was a big shot. There was a Sharks game where they got the tackle count wrong.
It was a semi-final against the Cowboys.
Did you win that one?
We did. On the 7th play, Bo Ryan scored a try in the corner.
Yeah.
It was on the last play. So we actually... we started the 7 tackle set before it was even a thing. Like, we're trendsetters. They looked at it out that game and said, the 7 tackles can be so valuable. Let's just go ahead and start 7 tackles.
Look, I think it's a great idea in theory. It would likely stamp out that tactic, but I think it would an unintended consequence would be even more dominance from certain teams. 12 tackles is a lot. It is a more interesting deep dive into this is why some teams do give away set restarts, 6 agains on tackle 1 when it doesn't appear to be necessary. There doesn't seem to be an advantage for doing it because sometimes we see if a player bursts through the collision, gets on their front, we see teams scramble to try and stop quick play the ball. But sometimes teams are just doing it for the sake of doing it. But I wonder if it's something psychological. They're trying to toy with the ref. They give a 6 again, and then maybe they're thinking they're less likely to give another one in that set. That is something that could certainly be looked at.
I would just say, like, winning plays 1 and 2, it's not a new thing. Like, teams have been focused on winning the first couple of plays in a set with a higher emphasis because it's so important to the rest of your set. If you can control play 1, play 2, then you're much more likely to have your defensive line set, get line speed for plays 3, 4, 5, and control that set. So it's not a new trend trying to dominate those early tackles. And I'm not saying coaches would be specifically saying we're happy if we give away a 6 again on play 1. But there will be a focus to go, do your best to win plays 1 and 2. And if the referee wants to blow 6 again, like put the pressure on him. And if he does, well, we're in control anyway and we'll handle it. So I don't mind Lockle's idea. I think in theory it might cause a few more issues. And I don't like the idea of just adding new rules and taking nothing away. There needs to be some sort of give and take there, but there's some merit in it because, teams are happy to give away 6 again on play 1. Like if I was in a team and still a current player off a scrum, I'd say to the outside backs as 1-on-1, just win the tackle. If you have to give away 6 again in any
that's
field
the
position,
instruction, yeah.
that's what I would be saying because it gives us forwards a better chance to get our line together. Maybe they look at if there's repeated infringements on tackle 1, there could be a sin bin or a professional foul. But then again, I think 10 minutes is too much. Maybe look at the sin bin and the time around how long you're off the field if we're going to go on a harsher line on play 1s and 2s. But there's a bit in that. That's a great question, a great take from Lockie K to start us off.
Great hot take.
Great hot take. So keep them coming in. If we had this rule on last night's game, the Dragons-Titans, we would have seen some long, boring crap sets in attack from both these two teams. This was a proper Sunday night poo slinger. Two rubbish teams going head to head. What did you make of the game, boys?
I think you're being harsh there, Charlie. I think it's just two teams who are a little bit low on confidence and they're searching for their first win. And they're not as slick as the other teams who play with that expansive style and have their combinations and are playing off the back of a few wins. So they're searching, and sometimes it's those tough matches where you're just going to and fro, trading sets, waiting for the opposition to make an error or give you a penalty to give you an opportunity in good field position to take advantage and win the game. But it looked like two teams a little bit down on confidence, searching really hard for their first win. And congratulations to the Titans. I thought they had some outstanding performers. Arama Howe on the edge, he scored a couple of tries. That was a real breakthrough game for him. Jaden Campbell, they just look a different team when he's in it. Like not just because of his flair with in attack and how he runs the ball, but his kicking game is so good. It's probably underrated how high and how far he can kick the ball. It's similar to what Mitchell Moses and Burton adds to the Bulldogs. Even when you don't have a great set out of yardage, their kicking game can get you out of trouble and can rescue the set. And Jaden Campbell's he's got that type of kick in him. And the Cowboys, and the Dragons, they're in a tough spot because they've fought hard all year. They've been in almost every game. Like I think back to the Golden Point in Vegas, and then the Melbourne game stands out where I know the score blew out in the end, but with 20 minutes to go, they were well and truly in the fight. Again, last night they were in the fight. They're just giving themselves opportunities in some games, and they haven't been able to get the results. And it's a bit similar to last year. They must have cost themselves a few 3 or 4 early last year when they had the lead or in a position to win a game, just couldn't seal the deal. And they've got some adversity this week. Kyle Flanagan will probably be out, a scary moment for him and the coach, who's his father. He was knocked out before he hit the ground last night. So we're wishing him the best. And there's a decision probably between King Tonga or Young Reid, who we saw light up the trials. So the fans have probably been calling for a change in the halves. Here's a forced change, and they'll get their wish one way or the other.
Yeah, it was a poor game, really, with the standard that was set on Sunday afternoon. The Sharks that went down to the Raiders, like that was an enthralling encounter. Two sides that went into week 2 and week 3 of finals last year. Thought that was an example of what a really quality game of NRL football looks like. Then you change tack to that game. It looked like two sides that were almost scared to be confident they could get the win. And you could see that there was almost a bit of belief going in from both sides. Oh, this could be the one. This could be the one. And then errors get made and you're in your own head. And then that nervousness of, oh, well, hang on, if we lose, we're 0-4. And really the hopes of playing finals are gone. Like it's completely stacked against you. So, look, the Titans get their first win. Dragons still searching. It's same story as last year, isn't it, Wade? You touched on the game against Vegas, losing by a point. Yesterday was a one score margin again. This was the Dragons' big issue last year, and it's same again. Look, yes, we want Kyle to be fit and be healthy. Nobody likes to see that. It would be awful for Coach Flanagan to be in the box, knowing all the eyes would be on him, and he just wants to get down and be a dad. So I feel for both of those players, both of those people in the family in that situation. But yeah, next week and looking ahead for the Dragons, Cowboys, Manly, Souths, Cowboys, Manly, two teams. Manly yet to record a victory. Cowboys with
2-2 now.
2-2. I don't know what they do. The Dragons, I still feel they should go to market. And that dilemma of Cade Reed or King Tonga, and where they're at and what they need, and what they need at the moment is a win. And maybe even it's neither of those two. It's Gutherson into 5'8", and it's Sloan at fullback. And I don't know if that gives you a bit more certainty in what you're going to get, and that goes back to that steady bit of grit with Sloan at the back that's played fullback. Yeah, defensively has his issues, but he brings X factor. Not too dissimilar to Asua Farlonga. Like what he brings for Melbourne Storm, he's got some learnings to get through in defence. And maybe Sloan's had the time and maybe showed his coach he's not capable of doing that. But I think that is a potential change that the Dragons will entertain.
What do you think, Wade?
Yeah, well, again, it's going to be a forced change, and the pressure builds. If you play 4 games, you lose 4 games. Of course, fans and critics they'll be calling for changes to be made, but you got to look at their squad too and their depth. I don't know how much they have there. I'm not across everyone, but it's not a bad shout getting Tyrell Sloan into that team, particularly at fullback. He is a game breaker. He's the type of player who can take those half opportunities and turn them into full opportunities. And it's a decision to be made, this week. And he'll have to shuffle the decks a little. Is it a straight swap, like a King Tonga or a young Reed coming in just to play 7 and you move Atkinson to 6, or however that fits the team? Or is it a bigger wholesale change? So in terms of Gutho moving to 6, he's going to be a solid defender. He's experienced enough to make that transition, and then you add a game breaker like Sloan in at the back, and you just give all that kicking responsibility to Atkinson, who, to be fair, has been doing 90% of the kicking anyway. So some decisions there for Flano, but yeah, it wouldn't be a happy camp down there at the moment. They'd be frustrated with how they've been in the games, but haven't been able to get over and get the result.
The good news on Kyle Flanagan is he's doing okay. He was out unconscious for 4 to 5 minutes, which is terrifying. But he is doing okay. Obviously, he won't be playing this weekend. But Jimmy, I want to ask you about this because we had this question on socials, and has the speed of the game, is it impacting those big forwards? I mean, Tino's been slow to start this year. Tarpany, Adam Fanua-Blake seem to not be at their destructive best as well. Do you think the speed is impacting those big middles?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, those 3 players that you speak of, they set such a high standard. And yeah, maybe with the ball, their ability to affect the game hasn't been up to what we've become accustomed to. But, you look at Payne Haas and his efforts, like he still carries the ball really strong. He's a bigger guy. Maybe the fact that it is round 4, they need a little bit more game time, that match fitness. But yeah, it's something that if, those 3 players that, are in the conversation for, well, all 3 of those would be top 5 middle players in the comp, top 6 middle players in the comp. If their ability to affect the game continues to be impacted, then yeah, you would say that it is. But, front rowers impact the game in different ways. There's more than one way to skin a cat. You look at the Bash brothers at Penrith, James Fisher-Harris, obviously he's at the Warriors now, and Moses Leota. They're not like huge carriers of the football, but they bring intensity in a different way. So yeah, it's an interesting point to make, something I'd want to keep an eye out for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think it's too early to be, we've only got a month of football sample size. And you look at those 3 guys you just named. Well, Tarpany, they've only won 1 game. Adam Fanua-Blake is in a Sharks team who started the year on fire, then back-to-back losses, one against Penrith, and they were flat against the Dolphins, right? They all didn't really fire.
Yeah.
And Tino, he's in a team that's searching and only just got their first win. So I think once, if their teams turn around, a part of their fortunes will turn around as well. Like there's no issue with Fisher Harris at the moment over at the Warriors because they've been going well. Moses Leota's killing it at Penrith. So it's just too small a sample size. I don't think the rules have altered that much, to be honest.
Let's talk the other Sunday game because this was an absolute cracker. Sharks Raiders. It's getting a bit worrying though if you're a Raiders fan now. You've gone from minor premiers to now a 1-3 start. Jimmy, you called this game. What'd you make of it?
Yeah, I still think the Raiders are playing well though. They've not fell in a heap. There was a lot to like about their performance, and if they play like that, they'll beat more sides than they'll get losses against. I thought the Horsburgh submitting. Look, we can debate about whether or not it should have been. Probably leaning towards it was the correct decision, but the Sharks scored 2 while he was off, and it took a fair bit of juice out the Raiders. I thought Trindle was excellent, and yeah, it's a huge win for the Sharks. There's no disgrace in the way the Raiders played. I thought they were great. They've got time. They just need to get some wins, don't they? They're still a quality side, but this was a great game of rugby league football. It was so entertaining, like the way the Raiders hit back. All 4 edge back rowers were playing out of their skin. Some of the skills on display, like it was if you could see that every game of every round, give me more of it.
Yeah, well, I was watching the game, obviously, and it was hard as a Sharkies fan watching it because even when they got to the 12-0 lead, you probably knew this is not enough. 12's not enough against this Canberra team, and I was blown away by the pace of the game, the Broncos-Dolphins game, but then that Sunday afternoon, the pace of which Canberra and the Sharks played at, it was frantic, and it was entertaining to watch, hard at times as a Sharkies fan because you know how dangerous Canberra can be, but it was a big bounce back. And for Canberra, again, they're 1-3, but they're up in, the last 2 games, Bulldogs, Sharks, they were in the fight and they had an opportunity. So although they didn't get the result, as Jimmy said, they keep playing like that, they'll get more wins than losses. And I just think late in the game yesterday in particular, because they play a risky style with their offloads and they never say die on any play attitude. We know they're going to throw it out the back. And, it sticks sometimes. A pass from Sebastian Chris out the back, no looker, hits KO Weeks in the hand, bounces back. Hudson Young's there. He runs around, scores a try. But then late in the game when they were chasing, they tried the offloads. It didn't stick a couple of times. I think Billy Burns jumped on the ball, turned over cheap possession. Hudson Young might have came up with another error, turnover cheap possession when you're chasing the game. It can hurt you at times. I think that's what Sticky will be looking at, that balance between, the flair that we know works so well for us, but then the patience when it's not on sometimes to take the tackle. We still got plays up our sleeve, and, if we don't need to score on every play. We've got enough talent that we'll find some points if we just keep the pressure on. And for the Sharks, it was a good bounce back. I thought, looking at the Dolphins match last week, it looked like they had a little bit of a hangover from the week against Penrith. They put so much into that, and they were so emotionally. They wanted that challenge. And when they fell short, sometimes you can fall in a bit of a heap. And to get up physically and to get up emotionally again for the Dolphins, they missed the mark there. So for them to go down to Canberra, knowing it's a tough match, probably not the best record against Canberra, but to do what they had to do, they look slick with the ball. They found some really good tries, as Jimmy said. Braden Trindle was fantastic. Nico Hines had some nice touches. Their outside backs were good, but there's still improvement.
Are they losing these games, Canberra, because of this new young halves combination still finding their feet? Is that the difference? Because you guys speak about their outside backs, their forwards as performing really well and being in these contests. We're seeing the same issue with the Dragons. They've got the worst halves worst halves pairing in the competition that everyone's saying, and they're losing these close games. Is this what's impacting Canberra as well?
Look, they're two very young halves. Their best is yet to come. I think Ethan Sanders coming into first grade, the way he's performed, the staff at the Raiders will be really happy with how he's taken on the line, took Kiko on, got that try and that field goal against Manly. Was excited with the ball yesterday. But one of the consequences of him coming in and playing on that left side is that is Stranger's old spot where he performed so well. It got him on that Kangaroos tour. It really elevated him. And was pushing Cameron Munster for best 5'8" in the comp last year. You know, he was exceptional. You know, when people have breakout years like that, we expect it to just continue on. And obviously with that change aside, plus it's a new year, plus teams really respect Canberra and what Strange brings to that side. So it just might take a little bit of time for him to figure that out. But, you know, they knew what they were doing there with having the two players that prefer that left. They've gone and give it to Sanders for now. But that will work itself out in time.
I think they've been great to start this year. Obviously, probably Strange has got a little bit more in him because of his experience and, you know, the level he set last year. But I think Sanders has been fantastic doing what he has to do. And again, like, you know, they're one tackle away, like Connor Tracy try saver to winning that game against the Bulldogs, and a couple of more composed moments yesterday in the second half. They could have easily come over the top of the Sharks. So, yes, the results say 1-3, but they're getting there. And again, they're only a little bit away. So just persist with it. I think Ricky will actually be looking at his senior players more than anything. Like in those moments when you need composure, you know, just show that experience and just give yourself an opportunity to be more in the game. Like the two areas, particularly in the second half yesterday, I think it was Sebastian Chris maybe one and Hudson Young one. You know, their experience, they need to be better to give these young halves an opportunity to keep the pressure on, and they're shooting themselves in the foot a little. Like they'd be unhappy. They wouldn't be, you know, we're not going to throw everything out and start again because they've been thereabouts. They'd be unhappy with the 1-3, but they'd be quietly confident they'll turn it around. It's still early. It's only 4 rounds in.
Yeah, the 6 and 7 aren't the reason they're 1-3.
Yeah. I'll tell you who's impressed me, Noah Martin.
He's been good.
But I felt so bad for him. He's been as impressive as any young back rower coming into. He's only 20 years old. The knock on that led to Jesse Cole.
He's doing the right thing. He's doing the right thing, and he'll be encouraged to do that. And it was just a little lapse from. You make mistakes, you'll move on.
Yep. Saturday night, the upset. Cowboys Storm. This was a great game. Cowboys were super impressive. You know, when the Storm go out to a big lead, you expect them to run home with it. But the Cowboys now, they silence a lot of those doubters. The noise around Todd Payton's quietened, and they're 2-2, Wade. Yeah, it's been a great fight back. I remember watching them, was it a few weeks ago against the West Tigers, just going, oh, you know, here we go again. And again, we've spoken about it a number of times with this Cowboys team. Their attack isn't the issue. Like, they're always going to find points. And even against the Melbourne Storm team, you know, who are a great defensive unit, you know, they found enough points to win the game. But the question is always going to be with them, can they defend? And can they, in the moments where you need to turn the opposition away, you know, do you have enough resilience in your defensive line to get the job done? And I think last week, win over the Titans, you go, yep, okay, can expect that. But this one, a big scalp in Melbourne at home, that takes so much pressure off. And, you know, 2 weeks ago when they were 0-2, there would have been a little bit of walking on eggshells. But they probably got a bounce in their step at the moment, knowing that, yep, they got the Titans done, but the big scalp of the Melbourne Storm, and we defended. We stopped them scoring points. We found enough with our attack. And it's something to build off. Like that's how do you say it? That confidence you walk in with.
Yeah.
You watch the video, you go, yeah, we weren't perfect, but we got the job done, and we've got more. We know we got more. That confidence can build, and they can go on a run if they get it right. Again, there's no question about their attack and how they can find points. It's always going to be, you know, stopping other teams, hurting them.
Yeah, well, look, the talk will be and the thought will be, if we can beat Melbourne, then we can beat almost anyone. They're probably at second on the lineup there of teams predicted to do well this year. I think, you know, if you look at the start of the season, you would have said if they're 2-2, okay, well the wins come against Tigers and the Knights. You would have guessed that this was the one that you could forgive them for slipping up at. And we know Melbourne are so well defensively drilled, and this is how good the Cowboys' attack is they scored from a set scrum. You never see Melbourne. You very rarely see Melbourne concede from set pieces from a scrum because they're usually so well drilled into them about hunting from the inside, not making rash decisions. That really stuck out for me. So look, credit to the Cowboys. Look, they were very desperate at the back end of that contest. Probably the concern is for Melbourne losing 2 in a row when they've had 10-point leads 2 weeks on the spin now, one to Brisbane, one to Cowboys. They'll be really disappointed with that. But isn't it a great news story for everybody up in Townsville where you see one coach gone? Coach Payton was in that conversation, but due to results that have been delivered on the field, he's got some respite.
Did you tip the Cowboys? Was that you when we were here on Thursday? I think you said they had a Storm nearly lost to them last time round. I think it was you. Have you forgotten now?
It was a long time ago.
No, I said
you?
I said that I didn't tip them, but I said I think it'll be close. I think because they the last time they played each other last season in Townsville, I thought the Cowboys beat them, but they didn't. It was a close one.
Is this the frustration then if you're a Cowboys fan, though? Like,
yes.
you see that you can beat the Melbourne Storm.
Yeah.
No, but for the Cowboys specifically, they know the roster they've got, and they've been able to beat the Melbourne Storm. In their eyes, they're a finals team.
100%. I think in everyone's eyes, they can be a finals team. They have, 5 Origin players?
Yeah.
Plus, a couple who didn't play Origin, and they're well experienced. Lukey, the back row, he's damaging. They've got a solid pack of forwards.
Tamalolo's going right, isn't he? Yeah, he's going good.
So that's the frustration, and that's why there was pressure on Todd Payton because he did take them to a prelim 2 years ago or 3 years ago. They have the potential in that team. So when they weren't delivering, and honestly, some of the efforts last year, it always stands out in my mind that Dolphins game when they played. It was nowhere near the mark. Not just NRL mark, but like mark they'd set for themselves in the past, that same group basically. So that's why the pressure was there. So there must be relief for certainly the team and Toddy Payton, but also their supporters because this is what we expected. We expect to be able to compete against the Melbournes and the Brisbanes and the Bulldogs and the Sharks and the Canberras because our roster says we should. We have 5 Origin players. So I think, hopefully for them, they've turned the corner. It was a great win against Melbourne, but they need to keep it rolling.
Tamalolo has looked good, hasn't he? And he's copped a lot of shit over the last couple of years, Jason Tamalolo, and he's been really impressive for them.
He has. I think he played 50 minutes. I was looking at the stats earlier, and I think that game time is perfect for him. Like, let's forget this 80-minute play. The media seems to have gone away from that and the attention around Tamalolo's minutes, which was always hot topic. He was playing lock forward. We know the freight that he's on. I think he seems to be happy with it. His coaching staff seem to be happy with it. I think that's the Goldilocks position for Jason Tamalolo. 50 minutes at prop forward. Like, you spoke earlier about the big forward struggling to have an impact. Well, Jason Tamalolo, I'm not gonna go and say something stupid like he's back to his best because I don't know if he can ever be that player. That's the mark of the season or a couple of seasons that he had sort of 2014, 2016, 17. But he's destructive. He's back to his destructive best. Not for as long, but per carry, he's looking good.
Panthers absolutely put the cleaners through the Parramatta Eels. You did a podcast with Luke Keary earlier today, Jimmy, and Luke said this is the most impressed he's been with Penrith ever in their dynasty. So from this 7-year run that they've been on, this is the most impressive version he's seen. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, well, 100%. My thing is, everyone can really cool their jets on where their team is after the first month of footy, right? Everyone's basically 2-2. There's maybe a few teams who are 3-1, and there's a few teams that are 1-3. We know a couple of teams that are outliers. I think Manly and Dragons haven't won.
Yep.
But the outlier at the top of the table is the Penrith Panthers, and that's because they've been outstanding to start this year. I think every team, in about thereabouts have had their good moments and they've had their poor moments. Penrith have just been relentless and playing at a high level that no team has been able to combat at the moment. If we're playing the finals tomorrow, they're laid out Mazare to win the competition, I think. But there's a long way to go. I think when I look at that team, we know how they're going to go now because they're so consistent. They're not going to go backwards. Then they're probably not going to rinse every team. There'll be a game where that someone takes them toe to toe, but even then you sort of know, well, Nathan Cleary is there. He'll come up with the goods around that team to find a win. The challenge for me, I see for this team is the origin period and how they handle post-origin, and whether they can get, if they have issues, not saying they will, but it's a risk for me where they potentially might come back to the field a little bit. That origin period, they'll be missing a lot of players again, and then post-origin, how do they get back in their rhythm and get to this level? And I have no doubt they will. Like, I think even if they do dip after origin with the caliber of players, how confident and focused they look right now, come September, if they hit their straps again, I'm not saying they'll be a laydown misère, but they're looking the goods. And just they carried on that winning streak for so long, 4 in a row. And then they missed out on the fifth. They go down to Brisbane in a prelim. Don't underestimate the opportunity to get back, have a steady preseason, reset emotionally, reset a few things within their system, and just a consistent preseason together. No World Club Challenge to deal with. There was a few guys that went on international duties, but a fairly steady, regular, consistent preseason. And look at how good they've started this year.
Yeah, look, they'll have 5 guarantees walk-up starters to the New South Wales side.
Maybe more this year, because you think even guys like Moses Leota, I'm not sure of his eligibility, but I'm sure he grew up in Western Sydney. I don't know what age he got there. So he could be on the radar for an Origin year. And this year, we'll find out more actually the more we get towards Origin. Because
Casey McLean's definitely eligible.
Well, there you go. He's outstanding.
Don't know if he quite gets in, but we got Yo, Cleary, Edwards, Toto, Martin, 5 in, no matter what. But the way Penrith are playing at the moment, they can afford to give those players 6 weeks off, and there's enough runs on the board.
Yeah,
and they just carry on where you left off when you come back. For me, Origin and their ability to bang 2 points. I think if Penrith are just, the only thing that can stop them at the moment is their health.
I thought you'd have Milky Jenkins in your list. You demanded that we speak about Milky Jenkins on the show today.
Jenkins, Lindsay Smith, he's a qualification for Ginge.
Yeah.
So. I had to show my wife the Milky Bar Kid because she grew up. She didn't understand why we called him Milky Jenkins, because there's no Milky Ways in Canada. So I had to go through the old ads. But it's hilarious, because in my memory of what the ads were, they're completely different. They're so much older than I thought. And actually, talk about feeling old. I had an old reunion at that game, Penrith and Parramatta, our old Harold Matts team 20 years ago, an under-16s team. Yeah, we won a comp and the boys organised a catch up. So we went there and it was quite trippy. So after that weekend, catching up with some mates from 20 years ago, and then having to explain to my wife what the Milky Bar Kid was, it was a very nostalgic weekend.
He's a great fella, Milky Jenkins. If you want to hear him, he was on the Sunday Sin Bin on Sunday. Those 10 tries in 4 games, he's broken a record that has stood since the 40s. So Jack Lindwall scored 10 tries in 4 games. So just an incredible start to the season for him. Who is this number 2 contender then outside of Penrith?
Brisbane?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brisbane. I think, I know they started their season poor. They've had some issues, but just that game against Melbourne, rolling it into the game against the Dolphins. Well, that was a high-quality game against the Dolphins.
Yeah.
And they're still not at their best. Even some moments in the game, you can see, they're not quite humming, so they're going to keep improving. And there's, despite how well Penrith are going, if there's a team that won't fear them when they match up, it'll be Brisbane. No, they'll back themselves up there. They go, let's do it again. You don't see Reece Walsh not worried about opposition. Katoni Staggs. A lot of people will be saying, Payne Haas. A lot of people will be saying when you prep against Penrith, you got to watch out for Nathan Cleary. You got to watch out for Isaiah. Dylan at the back. Broncos will be sitting there going, yeah, we get them, but they got to deal with us too. Reece Walsh will go, they got to deal with me. So I think Broncos at this stage.
Yeah, I think Brisbane's level of confidence will increase as the season goes on. Round 1, they played each other. Brisbane, they just come back from England, lost the Hull KR. They didn't register a point. They were a bit flat that that day, that afternoon, or that evening rather, and I think you can understand it. Come September, I mean, don't you want to see these two teams go after each other again? All the subplots from 23, from last year in 25. Look, that would be a great game to watch. Both of those teams in fit, in form, fighting for it, fighting for loser doesn't play next week or winner takes all, whichever way it goes. That would be an amazing finals game.
I'd actually forgotten about that opening round of Brisbane and Penrith, but it doesn't even worry me to the next time they play.
Deleted from the memory,
because
right?
it'll be a different Broncos team when they match up again.
Last of the games we're going to chat, boys. Dogs Knights. Your Dogs, Jimmy. I don't want to call them the Dogs of Boar, but I might. The Dogs of Boar. What's going on with their attack?
Just hold on a minute. We're not discussing the Warriors this week. Joel, our producer, he's been into us. We're not talking about the Warriors enough. Well, if we've got one game to go, I thought the Tigers were amazing.
They were
the
fantastic.
combination, Tanner Boyd, Luke Metcalf just didn't work. I mean, what are Warriors fans?
It's actually it's funny because there's no Warriors on the run sheet. They've had one loss.
Yeah.
That's. I'm glad you picked up on that way because so did I. In a serious note, to the Dogs, the attack. Look, I thought they were dominated through the middle of the field. I thought they underestimated the Newcastle Knights. You've got to give credit to them and the way they managed that 10-minute period with a player in the bin was fantastic. Lots of short kicks in behind. Really won that possession battle during that phase. Attention will come to Lockie Galvin. I don't think he's the issue. Look, he loves to get the ball in his hand, and maybe you could accuse him of perhaps trying too hard. I think the middles need to step up, and they're not that far away. They're creating a lot. They're just not finishing a lot of opportunities that come their way, and that's been the case in all three games for the Dogs now.
Yeah, I think, again, for the Bulldogs and Cam Serraldo, they just need to block out the noise. And, all this talk around their attack, they need to just be patient with it and trust in what they're doing and trust in their process of developing, Lockie Galvin at the 7 role. And sometimes when you get so much criticism on your attack, you spend most of your time thinking about your attack and trying to improve your attack. I think they should just almost put that to the side and just go, you know what, we're going to hang our hat on our defense and just lean into the defense and that defensive system and go, we're going to back ourselves to defend our way to victory. And if they do that, well, then they have time to work on their attack. At the moment, again, I watched them closely on the weekend. I watched them in Vegas. It looks like they've set up a structure which sort of gives everyone a role and a clear understanding, and they just want to stack plays on the opposition, goal line when they get an opportunity, build pressure, and by stacking plays, eventually having that defensive system you're asking them a lot of questions. Eventually, someone will get it wrong and they'll find some points. And within that, you give your time, give time for Lockie Galvin to understand more about the cues he's looking for on the field. He knows where his personnel are, and he'll grow into that role. Like, you can't just throw the toys out of the cot because you have one loss. I think you got to be patient and keep developing that. Like, eventually, because Lockie Galvin, he's a good young half. He understands cues. He understands where the space is. When he sees a defensive line and there's something in front of him that he knows isn't right, he will attack that space. The next part of that development is understanding how to manipulate the defensive line and break down the defensive line. That's why Nathan Cleary is so good, because he knows exactly what he's doing every time. Every time he drops a back row under, he's looking at who makes the tackle. If it's a back rower in, if a middle flips, if the fullback plugs that side, he knows the space is out there. If the middle flips and the fullback's on this side, he knows he's got to attack there, and that's all he's doing. He's just setting up his looks. At the moment, there's a system at the Bulldogs where they're stacking plays, and they're trying to manufacture those looks without producing them themselves. And Lockie will take them eventually, but you just got to be patient with it, and slowly he'll get more experience. He'll understand the system more. He'll start taking more advantage of the opportunities, but they should just hang their hat on their defense, go, we're going to defend our way to win, block the noise out, and just give their attack time to develop. That's that's just my opinion. I'm not inside the camp of, they could be doing something completely different to that. That's just my view of watching them live.
Yeah, Wade, I think that their attack needs some fine tuning. It doesn't need a complete overhaul. people calling for positional changes. I'm not too sure Cam Serraldo is going to entertain that. And, I was listening to you on the weekend about the Bulldogs and who they are as a team and what they've established themselves as for me, a genuine top 4 team in the comp. And it's been their defence. And that was lacking in that game against the Newcastle Knights. I'm going to point out a couple of examples of things that will be on the video clips this today, Monday, when they're going through their review. The Graham show and go, where he went through, I think it was Hayward, a marker there. That was lack of concentration, maybe even lack of respect for the person in a dummy half for the opposition. The Frizzell try over through the middle of the post, almost like you never want to concede those tries. There's another example, and then on trial end, there's one kick out was rushed out.
Yeah, well, he was in the middle of that stage.
He ended up in the middle, didn't he? Yeah. And he just got a little bit lost. And look, I love Kickow and how he applies pressure. If you're a ball player and Kickow's in front of you, you better watch out because he's coming for you. But unfortunately, he shot out of the line, and that caused so much disruption on that edge. The Knights end up going and scoring again. Then, there was an intercept. So, look, there's a few things there that you just go, Dogs, like, let's help us. Like, we know we defend better than that. That's going to be, if that's our greatest chance of winning, and we win, like we did in Vegas, 18-16 or whatever the score was, 19-18. If we win by one try, and people can talk about it, fine. Get our defense right, and then we'll tweak the attack.
Yeah, well, even their other try, Dom Young, the one they raced away to put it beyond doubt.
Yeah,
Crichton, Kickow, both caught on the ground, and then Sandon Smith jumps out and takes a short try, and they know, that you can't be left on the ground, and if you are left on the ground, take care of your short side first.
They got exploited with this. Yes, I forgot that example.
They're all easy fixes. And again, me and Luke were talking about it after the game, and he made the point. Like they should just hang their hat on their defense and go, you know what? We'll trust that we'll find enough points because we believe we'll keep teams to 1 try, 2 tries, and we'll find 3 ourselves. It's fine. And then if you do that, it gives that attacking system that they've set up around Lockie Galvin time to develop and time to improve.
The Knights were super impressive.
That was so good.
We forgot to mention that.
Let's talk about the Knights now because they're incredible. No Dylan Brown, no Kalen Ponga. Phoenix Crossan breaks his nose during the game. Yes, he obviously came back into the game. That's brutal. I've never seen a nose like it. Yeah, the photo's insane.
Yeah. Well, and we have to give the Knights credit because there were some doubters coming into the season, and I was one of them. I'll put my hand up. I was a doubter on the Knights, and I was unsure how much they could improve. I was unsure about Dylan Brown at 7. I was unsure how that combination was going to work. But you have to give credit to Justin Holbrook and the playing group because that performance on the weekend, without 2 of your stars, showed a lot of commitment. They showed a lot of heart for each other. They saved 2 tries in the first half. I think Max King was across the line and they forced that error. And then it might have been Carraz or Montoya in the corner where they covered the fence.
Montoya, I think.
Montoya, they saved that. And, if they don't save those tries, all of a sudden it could be 12-0, 12-6. And the outlook on the game may be different. So, big shout out to the Knights. They've been exceptional. And to come down to Sydney, to Accor Stadium, there's going to be 50,000 Bulldogs fans there without your 2 best players. And just to get a job done against a highly contended team, like they should be very happy with themselves right now. And they've still got a few weeks to deal without their stars on the sideline. But, great victory for the Knights.
Yeah, huge mental win for the Knights without Kalen Ponga. I think that their record is shocking without him, to the point of 0 wins within the last 10 games or something silly like that. I'm paraphrasing those stats, but that is roughly speaking what it's at. They lost last week to the Warriors at home. They would have been feeling that pressure of trying to perform without him, and just how far the Knights have come. I think it was last year. The Bulldogs played the Knights at the very same stadium, and Kalen Ponga went off injured, and they absolutely fell in a hole. The Bulldogs put the cleaners through them. This is a completely different Knights side. I thought their forwards really stood up well. Solo, what a shot that was. I think he's banging down the door for more minutes now. He's earning the trust. What an enforcer he is. I thought their middles were awesome.
Justin Holbrook's a fantastic coach, and I think we're all about premierships in sport now. We're in that premiership world. That's what modern sport's all about. But taking the Titans to the top 8 is an incredible achievement, given how bad the Titans are and how inconsistent they are as an organisation. So he's an incredible coach. And what's happened with the Knights is that what Manly's going to be hoping to happen, where you sack your coach and you get this awesome burst. So they've gone from a wooden spoon team now to a finals team, it looks like the Knights. And Manly have obviously pulled the trigger. Kieran Foran's the interim. Do you like it, Wade?
Oh, listen, firstly, I'll say I have a huge amount of respect for Kieran. And not just as, as a player and the career that he had, but as a person. I met him as a 16-year-old. And even back then with his footy, he was always, a couple of steps ahead of his peers with the way he thought about the game and the way he played. And big decision from Manly to appoint him. But I think, he'll certainly cut through with the players. I'd imagine he's an authentic guy. I imagine he would be very transparent. Hey boys, I'm in a bit of a deep end here. I need your help. I need you to come with me. And, everything might not be perfect, but I'm going to give it my best shot. I'm going to give it a crack. And, I need you to jump on board and help me out. And, I think there's so much more improvement in Manly. If they adjust their style a little bit, that gets them in the trouble. Like we saw the other night at Brookvale, the shift, they get a result from it, right? And that's what we know, Manly. They will shift in yardage, and they can find some points. Cooler's so dangerous, Saab with his speed. But that same thing can be their Achilles heel. You try to shift your way out of trouble and find yards. It doesn't work every time. So I think there's a minor adjustment in their style, and I think Kieran can help them find that. The challenge will be for him when, you want buy-in from the playing group. He probably still sees himself on the same level as them to some extent, is if there are some more hard times and he's got to make some changes, those hard conversations to have. That's where it's, an art in managing the playing squad, how you deliver news, how you keep everyone up and their spirits high. So that'll be the challenge. But listen, I'm backing him in. He's been a great competitor his whole life. So he'll take this as he's probably taken any challenge in his life, to be fair.
Yeah, well, you touched on that, Wade. Less than 5 months ago, he was playing for the New Zealand national side. Usually when players hang up the boots, they have a really long holiday. They'll do an ambassador role. They'll do a bit of media.
They spend the year drinking.
Guilty.
They'll do a bit of travel, maybe a bit of specialist consulting, as it's called. But Kieran Foran took on the role as the assistant coach, and here he is now with the reins. Look, I genuinely hope it works out for him. But more importantly, I hope Manly look after him and his family and give him a break, because this guy deserves it. At some point during the year, he should be looked after completely, all expenses paid by that Manly Football Club. Now, I know they've been short on resources, but this man deserves it. Him stepping into the hot seat, they know he would never say no. They owe him for this, and it goes beyond the compensation that he'd get financially. I think what happens at Manly is the pressure goes out the room. I've been at clubs where the head coach and the staff are fully aware that the knives are out. It looks like it's closer to the end, but there's this feeling I can save it. And the feeling I can save it, both Hasler and McGregor brought pressure, and they changed who they were, and we felt that as a playing group. And that then affected us on our prep, how we went about our game, our ability to perform. And I think that was evident with a couple of the games that Manly were in. When you're under pressure, you're drained and you're fragile. And that was, for me, what happened in that night's game. They looked like a fragile team. Like, they looked up for it and they were tense, and then they just looked fragile. And because they're so drained emotionally, physically, they couldn't maintain, or they couldn't keep up with the Newcastle Knights. And we've spoken about how good they're going. But what Kieran does now, he comes in with a different energy. Sure, he's nervous, but he's excited. And he's not under any pressure whatsoever. Look, I think short term, this really does work. If it goes well, we can talk about the conversation about what comes with being a head coach. Because Kieran Foran now, he's the head coach, but his roles and responsibilities aren't that of a head coach. This is completely different. Nobody's Kieran's not sitting there in, retention and recruitment committee meetings. He's not having to make a call.
You don't reckon?
No.
Well,
No, it's not. It's not in his job description at the moment. And that'd
Not
be
just
unfair.
right now,
And
just right now, just
and
right
it'd be
now.
unfair for Manly to put him in that predicament because there's no guarantees that no doubt he'll be an assistant coach there next year and he might have a say, but he's not brokering deals like a lot of coaches do, or they're determining the value of a certain player. So look, that's a conversation for later. Kieran just needs to come into Manly, enjoy the situation, breathe that bit of excitement within the playing group. The pressure is out of the room, and to be tweaking here and there. But the main difference will be the playing group is not feeling the pressure of their head coach.
What will it take for him to get this head coaching job long term? Like if they come out here and now win 4 or 5 games in a row, everyone's going to say, sign Kieran up, sign Kieran up.
It's too hard to tell. Like, as Jimmy said, it's probably a conversation for down the track. But if they do turn it around, they start winning. I know there's, it's highly touted that Matt Ballin is a strong possibility of coming down to take over that head coaching role.
It's funny that Matt Ballin, I've been told that he would have happily come immediately, but they haven't gone down that avenue, which for me is almost an X against Matt Ballin. And that means he might not be getting it, because if he's happy to come down now and he hasn't gone, and Manly don't want him now, well, then he's obviously not going to be the guy they.
Well, it's all about timing and opportunity.
Yeah.
I know, but wouldn't you, if he was prepared to come immediately, wouldn't you then bring him in immediately if he's your guy?
Yeah, well, maybe they don't want someone in immediately.
Or they're happy to give Kieran a run.
Yeah.
With that, like as Jimmy said, there's no real pressure on them now. So let's just see what happens. Let's see how he goes. And if they do go on a winning streak, and say the Matt Ballin situation, and Kieran wants to continue on as head coach, well, maybe those conversations do happen later in the year, and then there's a decision to make of who they do. Do they bring in a Matt Ballin or a Brad Arthur, and Kieran goes back to his role? But it's too early to tell now. Like the news is only just broken. Let's see how they go in a month and reassess the situation.
Matty Johns and Cooper Johns on their podcast Backstage interviewed Kieran Foran a few weeks ago, and Matty asked him, do you have ambition to be a head coach? And he said he does. So it's obviously something Kieran down the track wants.
Yeah.
And the only part of me that is a bit worried is has Scott Penn almost used him as a shield now, because he's so popular with the fans, he's so popular with the old boys, everyone in the game loves Kieran Foran. Has he used him almost as a shield to keep the pressure off himself at the moment? Because the reality is Scott Penn,
a bit of a distraction as to what's actually going on at this football club.
Correct.
Charlie, maybe not intentionally. Maybe there's I don't think that's the only reason, but putting Kieran Foran in charge of this team as the head coach on an interim basis, that is great news story. And we're going to look at head coach, but there are clearly some issues around the infrastructure of the Manly Sea Eels Football Club.
We need to actually get Reedy in to talk about Joey Walsh. Because remember, he was adamant that he wouldn't play this year under Anthony Seabold. But
he also thinks Blake Green's going to get the job as well.
Yeah,
Isaac
Kieran
Moses.
debuted as a 17-year-old or an 18-year-old. So I don't think he'd have any fear of putting a young kid in.
Yeah. It was Adam Pengilly in the Daily Telegraph on the weekend wrote that part of the decision around Anthony Seabold was Scott Penn and Anthony Seabold didn't see eye to eye on the plan for Joey Walsh. They wanted to see Joey Walsh in that first grade team on that 6-man bench.
The
Scott
owner.
Penn, the owner. Yes, this is what Adam Pengilly wrote in the weekend.
Guess what? Get back to New York.
Yeah.
See you later.
Well, he's there 10 months of the year, apparently.
Well, but what are you doing if you're an owner? You don't have it. You know.
Yeah.
You're not. If you're the owner. It's and an owner with no football experience. Gold Coast Titans, Tallis, Johns, you might want to lean on them.
Mm.
Well, that's where Josh King comes in, right?
Exactly.
He needs to be the buffer between ownership, sponsors.
Jason King.
Josh King,
the Melbourne Storm forward. It's funny, you're not the first person
to
have done that.
There's been a couple of
But Tommy Tobler, when we did the podcast.
That's where Jason King comes in, because
like Andrew Webster.
Very smart.
Which Webster you talking about?
Andrew Webster wrote a great article. That was in
Let me
the
finish
match
this
day
one.
program for the New Zealand Warriors. Sorry, Wade.
Let me finish this point. So where Jason King comes in, because he needs to be the buffer between ownership, sponsors, and whatnot, and the football program. And he's a very smart guy.
Yep.
You know, he's a lawyer now, but he's been in that football world. He knows there's a need for a separation between football program and club business. And there needs to be communication across the two, but they need to be apart as well.
And just quickly, Andrew Webster's a great coach. I've seen him taking that under 12 team. They look look amazing.
fantastic.
They really do.
Down in the south, he's living in the near Barrel these days. He's got a
they
great,
do. He's what
the
an
Moss Vale
impact
or
he's
whatever.
made to the community soccer club down there. I can't remember what they call, but he's doing a great
He's
job.
doing a great job. Scott Penn, as an owner, doesn't put enough money into the team, and that's the issue. Manly used to be a big club. They're not a big club anymore, and that's because Scott Penn is not wealthy enough, obviously, as an owner to be putting that as much money in as like the Frizzels, for example, the Gold Coast Titans. They're like billionaires. So they can put so much money into this club and it's privately owned, whereas Scott Penn obviously isn't in the same position as them.
Listen, I'm not across, the business side of things.
Well, he doesn't put enough money into the club.
But the point is, if you don't put money into the football program, you're up against it because the other clubs are.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to recruit players and a player X gets to walk through the new facility at South Sydney, Parramatta, Melbourne, Penrith, the Bulldogs, and then you're competing against Manly, Roosters, even the Tigers. They've got some new stuff too. And then all of a sudden you go to Manly and you're training out in Narrabeen, demountable gym, demountable offices. It's hard. It's a hard sell. Unless your footy team's going a million miles an hour and you're on path to win a competition, like you can sell the football program.
Yeah.
But if you're comparing apples and oranges when you're comparing clubs as a recruiter, and if that's how he wants to run his footy club and his business, well, that's up to them.
Well, wait, look, Manly are...
Didn't mention the Bulldogs, their facilities.
Yeah, Manly are capable of bringing in good players, but what about the great players? Yeah, they produce to the Trebojevic brothers. They had DCE on their books for a while, but as have other clubs. Like you look at the Roosters, for example, South Sydney producing players, other big players on their books. They can still go out and recruit, and they're in the conversation. Payne Haas comes available. He's never going to Manly. Yeah. They'd say they'd like him, but he's never going there. They're just not that type of club anymore. And that likely comes or stems from, their lack of, you hear stories of the past about their ways to recruit players, and they were second to none.
Yeah.
That's why they were so hated. And maybe the Roosters have taken over that mantle now.
Yeah.
But it's delivered results from the Sydney Roosters' point of view. They don't particularly care about what other people think of them. Manly aren't in that category anymore. Not too dissimilar to the St. George Illawarra Dragons.
Yeah.
That top marquee player, they'll feel a phone call from them, but it's likely a thanks but no thanks.
Yeah. That's why this is going to be hard to hear as Manly fans, though.
Or it's not even a thanks but it's like when you're speaking to your agent, where are they with this offer? And what their offerings are around as a total package now, because a lot of players, the upper echelon of players, the wage that they get, on their contract, that's great, but it's all these other opportunities that players are thinking about themselves as a business. They're forecasting their future. You look at what clubs are doing for players in terms of opening doors. I don't hear that with Manly. You probably don't maybe hear it with the Sharks either. Don't hear it with the Dragons, but the talk at Roosters, the talk at Souths, the talk at the Bulldogs, the Panthers speak for themselves. They don't really need to bring players in, but these are the things that are happening behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Plus, if you go to Manly, you need to cross the Spit Bridge into Sydney, and at 10 o'clock at night, they have it up for some reason. You need to wait.
Can we talk about that? Because what was going? We were at the Brookvale Over. We drove home. Who is riding their boat at 10:30 at night where the Spit Bridges are?
After a storm. Did you see how choppy it was?
What is going on?
And then for us guys having to travel south, the tunnel was closed. So we had to go across the bridge.
It took me a long time to get home. I took a few wrong turns.
Oh, that's brilliant. You got to go on the Kale side, not the bridge side.
I didn't do that, did I?
Because then you go through the city. Yeah,
thanks for telling me now.
Well, it was your
'Cause-
idea to go over there. I didn't want to. I wanted to call from the studio.
Yeah, Jimmy said big game. We got to be there.
I ended up
Decent.
going over the Anzac Bridge.
No, you didn't.
I said it out west. DC, back to Melbourne, back to Manly, back to Brio, like, blah, 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 whatever. Let's just call it from the studio. But you wanted to go. We got stormed in, couldn't get across the bridge, and you went the wrong way home. Brilliant.
He got booed as DC. I didn't like that personally, him getting booed. I get
But
you.
it got a bit comical, but at the end.
Yeah.
Like, at the start, I get it. But every time he touched the ball, 60 times. Jim. It's like,
And the quick boos as
yeah,
well.
it's like, even by the end, it was like they were fatigued. It was like, boo, boo.
Yeah. They were
And
just
then
getting
they
sad.
transitioned to
Yeah. Someone was getting booed.
Seabold.
Yeah.
Let's finish up with your hot takes, boys, in this segment we like to do every Monday. Jimmy, what have you seen enough?
Harry Grant, pass of the year. Thanks for coming.
Oh, that was fantastic, wasn't it? I agree with that. I'll
What?
give a different hot take.
Yeah.
My hot take is like everyone can chill now, right? Everyone they ride the emotions of their team. One victory, one loss. Oh, we're going to make the grand final. Oh, our season's gone. Okay, the opening month is over. Now we're getting into the grind. Now this is the real stuff.
Okay.
So teams will start to improve. They'll start stacking up wins, going back to back. We'll see the cream start to rise to the top now.
Yeah.
Now you can chill out and just enjoy your football team's either successful year or commiserations if they go the other way.
What are you putting a line through?
The Ben Tolty pass. I had that for pass of the season. Didn't even get pass of the week. So, bam, bam.
Wado, anything you putting a line through this
I
week?
did. We just spoke about it. Calling games at Brookvale. That's how it started. It's 1 o'clock, okay? We got stormed in. Then we got stuck at the Spit Bridge because someone was driving their boat at 10:30 and tunnel was closed on the way home. So let's just call bookie games from the studio now, please.
That's an example of the level of pride, though, that Manly has in their organisation. Imagine not having air conditioning in your commentary box at a
Actually-
club like the Roosters. Like it's.
But we need to defend them because we did get looked after there.
We did.
We did. Got nice burgers and chips.
Nice
They were good,
burgers. So
yeah.
we can't say a bad word about that. Like the hospitality was nice when
Yeah.
we got there.
Yeah.
It was just how the night unfolded that wasn't
I
exceptional.
mean, they can't control the weather.
They can't. No, and Chris Warren, the Manly media manager, is an absolute legend. He's a fantastic operator. He calls games on 2GB. I had him on the weekends. Well, does a great job. But no air conditioning in your commentary box. Like, come
Particularly
on.
after that storm too. It got
Yeah,
so humid.
so hot.
Like, the windows are fogging up.
Mate, it's not the 1980s. Like, air conditioning is pretty easy to organise. Cool your jets. Anything we need to cool our jets on?
Yeah, look, myself and my fellow pundits, we were putting a line through Adam Dewey, weren't we? We thought we were all giving him our medical diagnosis, grade 3 hamstring tear, probably 10 to 12 weeks if he's lucky.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there, but a lot of us putting a line through Dewey for 3-4 months, and he was amazing, absolutely amazing on Friday night.
Sorry, I lack preparation. I don't have a cool your jet. That's all I got. That's all I got.
Well,
done
this
for.
is cool your jets. Okay, yeah. I was about to say this is put your line through, but it's not, is it? So that's
Cool
my
your jets.
bad.
Cool your jets.
Great show, boys. Wado, great to see you as always. The Graham's Family Trust. We're
back.
back.
Yeah, we're back.
We're back.
We're back. We'll see you boys next Monday.